This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Welcome back into everybody. This is Viterbi Voices. My name is Paul Ledesma, Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
So Audrey, what is this episode all about today?
Yeah, so we wanted to think about, we were kind of thinking about housing, and we were discussing it in one of our meetings as a podcast team, and we were like, well, maybe this isn't best for the podcast because people want to see what housing looks like.
Yeah.
But then we thought about...
And then we turned left as we walked through the foyer.
Exactly. So then we were thinking about sort of what really impacted us from our housing freshman year, and it's not sort of the amenities, which I think people focus on a lot. It's really sort of the experiences you have in the community. So as a team, actually, we recorded this one, and we kind of just talked about the different places we live, and of course a little bit about what those are, and then what the community was like and what our favorite experiences were. So I lived in the McCarthy Residential College my first year, and then Christina's also on this podcast, and she lived in McCarthy for a semester and then moved to Pardee Tower. And then Luz, she lived in Pardee Tower. And then Alex lived in Parkside IRC her first year. I
think one of the most common questions you all get, I get it a lot as well, which is like, what's the best dorm to live in?
Totally.
So, spoiler alert, does this podcast answer that? Because of course there's an answer.
Not directly. Luz at one point sort of said people think of Pardee as sort of a maybe not the best dorm to live in, but that she really loved it, and it was just like felt like college, right?
But see, that's the answer. Is like people like assume that there's some sort of story about like what each one is better or worse, and she's saying like, oh, people have said that, but I lived there and I loved it.
Right.
It's all about the communities that you build. I think that's exactly what you're trying to shoot for this time. And I'll give you a couple points real quick when you're going into this episode. Number one, there is no such thing as the best dorm. Number two, there is not one that is closer or farther from food.
Yes, we discussed that.
Which is a big deal because at some universities it's like, oh, you got to get to the one that's near the dining hall because if you don't, you got to have this long walk. And there are dining facilities in each one of these areas. There's essentially 3 areas of living, and they all have their own kind of unique aspects of living. And so I'm really excited you guys did this episode, especially as students are about to be admitted.
Yeah.
They're trying to understand what's going on with housing, and they can listen to the smooth, sultry voices of the podcast production team and figuring out to describe this process and choosing a residence hall. And if you haven't done so already, housing.usc.edu has got a bunch of floor plans on there. The booklet that if you were admitted, you got a booklet there that goes over housing. The amenities are essentially the same across all of them. Just choose the one that sounds right to you. There's no engineering dorm. There's no one closer or farther from engineering classes because you have engineering classes across this entire campus.
Especially your first year. You're not in one corner. So don't overthink it. Just pick what sounds the coolest to you or what sounds the most interesting to you, and everyone will take care of itself. We are in this midst of COVID-19 and remote instruction and no events right now. So, stay tuned to our website as we kind of figure those things out. But I know it's kind of a hamper on this episode, but just as a heads up, keep in mind. We've been discussing how we can sort of tell students what housing is like at USC through the podcast medium, because obviously it's thought of primarily as sort of a visual thing. You see a dorm, but so much of our dorm experience is not really the physical space, but sort of the memories and the stories that come along with it. So today we have most of the podcast team here to talk about their freshman year or first year dorm experience. So can everyone just introduce themselves? Of course, I'm Audrey, and I lived in the McCarthy Residential College my first year here at USC.
And my name is Luz, and I lived in Pardee Tower my first year.
My name is Christina. I lived in McCarthy for the first semester and then Pardee Tower in the second semester.
My name is Alex, and I lived in Parkside IRC for my first year.
Cool. So first, let's go around and sort of describe to everyone what these dorms are like. They're all very different. We got a range here. So first, McCarthy is it's in the Village, and it's suite style living, right? So you have a bathroom and kind of your own room. It's a little less dormy than the others.
Yeah, it feels like a hotel, I would say. It definitely feels more like an apartment style thing just because it is a suite. There are other suite buildings on campus, but what really differentiates McCarthy from other buildings, I would say, is that you have your own room and your own bathroom attached, so you don't have the communal bathroom feel. If you step out of your room, you're not right away in the hallway, so you don't just run into people organically, but you do really bond with your suite, and you get to spend a lot of time with your roommates, the people living in the room around you. It's a really cool vibe. Also, living in the Village, I spent so much time at Trader Joe's and Target my first year.
Money.
Yeah. They got it all. So
yeah. I feel like even I spent a lot of time at Trader Joe's, and I lived on the way other side of campus, but I also lived in a suite style my freshman year. But it was a little different because we had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in our suite. So 6 of us lived together, which was a little bigger, but it was kind of nice. What was really cool about my experience is I actually lived with international kids. I chose kind of that building because I wanted to be near the engineering school, but I lived with 2 girls from China, 1 girl from Indonesia, and another girl from India.
That's awesome. And I feel like that's such a important part of USC too, is that we have a big international population, and it's so cool to actually get a view of people's cultures, and that's something you can do here.
Yeah, so. It was really cool. Something also special about my building is we really tried to celebrate all those international holidays. So our RAs, a lot of their events focused around different cultures, holidays.
Cool. And then, Luce, do you want to talk about your freshman, kind of what the situation was like?
Party Tower. How do I describe her? So I lived with just one other roommate, and we had communal showers. So I spent a lot of time with my roommate. We were both engineers, so that really worked out. And basically, a lot of it was just us not leaving our beds, but sending each other memes. Even though we're right across from each other, because the rooms are pretty small, but it was enough space so that you can create your divide and have your own space. How do I describe? The bathrooms were honestly fine. I think the best part was taking a shower and then starting singing a song, and then someone else from another stall.
Did that happen to you?
It happened once. It was magical. Where I was just humming something, and the person directly next to me finished this chorus of the goal. And I think I really got the feel of organically being able to bump into people. I think one of my most cherished memories was all of us just happened to have our doors open, and we were all just out and about. And so I just barged into everyone's rooms, and we're going to dance down the hallway to the USC fight song. And we played it on a giant speaker, and we just started dancing in the hallway. We also got our RA into it. So I think it was a lot of very there's no other way to explain it other than it's a dormy feel. You can barge into other people's rooms. People have their doors open. It depends on vibe from floor to floor, but I think we were all pretty close at the end of the day.
So, as you can kind of hear from what people have said, the 3 main types of housing at USC are traditional dorm style, as Luz was just describing, an apartment style like suite style like McCarthy and Parkside are, and then an apartment style would be the other housing options in the Village for mostly sophomores.
Yeah, I currently live in an apartment on campus.
So we got it all covered. Covered. But Christina, I'm interested, now that we've kind of talked about McCarthy and Party, how did you're the only one who sort of had both the suite style and the dorm experience. How would you compare those two?
It was definitely a difference. I would have to say, building-wise, McCarthy is just newer. So everything there was not necessarily cleaner, but it had a feel of more new furniture, and everything was more wow, this is so glamorous. And going into Party, it was this is a college dorm.
This is a lived-in space.
This is a lived-in space. People have been here. More traditional furniture. The vibes were definitely different, because in McCarthy it was more closed off. You're in your suite and you don't really know people outside of your RA group. But in Party Tower, it was more everyone on your floor hangs out because you share a bathroom, which was really cool. But honestly, I loved the vibes of both places. It was cool to get both experiences, because in McCarthy, I feel a lot of the people there were more similar to me. There was a lot of STEM students, a lot of people who were coming from the same sort of background that I had. So it was pretty easy to make friends, and I met a lot of friends that I still have today. But I feel like in Pardee...
We met in McCarthy.
We did meet in McCarthy.
Yeah, well, also Amy 101, but...
Back
lived
in
on the same floor.
The mechanical engineering days. And then...
Throwback.
Yeah, in Pardee, my roommate was in the School of Cinematic Arts, and she was like one of the few people here that I really got to know that was in the School of Cinematic Arts at the time. So it was really cool to meet people who had different backgrounds, were in different majors, different areas of interest, things like that. So I feel like it was definitely a more diverse experience, and I got to see different viewpoints, have a different experience in college. It was fun. Pardee Tower is a fun time. And to clarify, Pardee.
Not party, like P-A-R-T.
No,
Yes.
although it was a party.
This is a good
Party and party.
clarification.
Yes.
So I think what's going to be really valuable for people, or I hope so, is sort of hearing more about the experiences and the memories that each one of these places have. But I want to start with, what do you think sort of, I don't want to like break these down into stereotypes necessarily, but what do you think is sort of the vibe of the places that you guys have lived?
I think it feels communal. Like,
Yeah.
I share a space with so many people. And, like, it sometimes it was frustrating because, like, there was always, like, if I wanted space, if I wanted, like, privacy, like, my roommate just had to not be home. And, like, you know, sometimes I felt like there was too many people around, but, like, sometimes I, like, went off campus and, like, cooled down, or, like, went to, like, a small nook on campus and, like, got my space that way. And that ended up working out. But I think there's never a moment that was quiet in Pardee, I think. And if I needed someone to talk to or someone to just hang out with, I felt like I could just barge into people's rooms if their doors were open. And that was just the vibe. Just a lot of barging in. It was like having a bunch of siblings. Like, you know, when you're bored, you go into your, like, little sisters or older brothers or in your sibling's room and you just hang out there because you're bored. Like, that felt like my floor, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was even that way with the study rooms, honestly. 'Cause
Yeah,
I know, like,
yeah.
McCarthy has study rooms on every floor, but
Yes.
Pardee has one big study room with red everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just a giant room, and they have red lights that turn on at night. So you're just sitting there, and I met so many people with late night study sessions through that room, so it's just a much more communal vibe.
Yeah, you would show up at 2 a.m. and there'd be people there and, like, what are you doing?
You're like, you want some goldfish, bro?
Yeah, you
What are
want
you
some
studying for?
goldfish?
That's awesome. What would you say about Parkside?
I feel like my freshman year was very, very different. Kind of same vibe where, like, you would meet people in the study lounges, because we had one, like, really big study lounge on, like, the bottom floor of the building, but then each of the floors, like, with rooms and stuff, we had 3 lounges. So people would meet in there and, like, hang out in there. My friends and I used to, like, we got a movie projector, and we'd hook up a laptop to the projector, and we'd, like, move the furniture around. I don't think we were supposed to, but we'd make it so there's a blank wall, and then we'd project whatever TV show. At the time, we were watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't know if anyone else watches that, but we'd watch it weekly together. And so that's kind of how I made, like, friends in my building. But other than that, my building was really, really quiet. I feel like it took me a while to get to know the people around me. I lived next to an Olympic swimmer my freshman year, and we met getting water, and that was about it. But I kind of liked it. I feel like it was, like, transitioning into college, like, it was a lot for me. So I feel like having a space that was quiet, like, where I could study and just kind of, like, relax with air conditioning was really, really nice. And so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think bringing back memories, I remember the study lounge at Pardee, because I think, like, second semester, I remember studying there and seeing Christina there. But in McCarthy, this was, like, a really big thing, too, because we have, like, 4 or 5, you know, study lounges on each floor, and they're super nice, but it was sort of, I think McCarthy is a little bit less the vibe of, you know, kind of just opening someone's door and hanging out with them, because you have 2 doors to get into someone's room, because it's, like, the suite style, and we weren't allowed to have our doors open.
We weren't either.
Yeah.
Fire hazard.
Yes. So it wasn't so much that, but I think the study lounges, of course, this sounds so nerdy and it's so McCarthy, we're sort of, like, became that space, and it was just so fun to, like, every night at like 1 a.m. or whatever, you'd walk in and kind of like what you guys said, what are you studying for? And I remember, so Whole Foods had on Thursday night has like $9 pizzas for a whole pizza. So I called it Pizza Thursday, and I would go and get a whole pizza and
Why
then
are
bring
you
it
telling
back
us about
to
this
McCarthy.
now?
I know what.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow will be Pizza
We gotta
Thursday.
go.
So I'd get a whole pizza, and I'd come back, and my friends and I would just like sit in the study lounge and eat this entire pizza.
Dude,
So
McCarthy was legendary in my major. Because, you want to know why?
Wait, we also didn't say everyone's major. So just as a reminder, I'm studying mechanical engineering. I'm a junior.
Yeah, I'm studying computer engineering and computer science, and I'm a junior.
That's Liz.
I'm studying environmental engineering, and I'm a junior.
I'm a sophomore studying industrial and systems engineering, and this is Alex.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So McCarthy was legendary for CS. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, so I think computer engineering, computer science, CECS abbreviation, is smaller than CS, and I think CS, like, in general, like, a lot of people know each other because they're all in, like, around the same orgs and stuff. And like freshman year, like, typically both CCS and computer science take 104 and 170 together. So that's the object-oriented programming class, and then the like intro to algorithms or like discrete math theory class. And like, if you just wanted to do 104 or 170, you just had to text someone in McCarthy and just say like, hey, I'm going to get to work, because there was always one lounge dedicated to just those two classes at any given point in time. And I think I spent an obnoxious amount of time there for having not lived in McCarthy, because I was like just hanging out with people who were in those classes. So
I know, like, now that I don't live in McCarthy or even in the Village Hall, I like don't know where to study now, because I would always study in the lounges. So I mean, again, that is super nerdy to be like, this is such a big part of your sort of dorm experience. But like,
it's true.
So many of my memories from my first year at USC were from studying or just like hanging out in the lounges, and it was super fun. And I think too, it really speaks to, you know, the nature of USC students, and to be able to study together but have fun and not take it too seriously. Honestly, like be serious about doing well, but still be able to be friendly to each other. And yeah.
Can I bring another element into this conversation?
Of course.
The topic, another part of my freshman year that was really important, the dining hall closest to your dorm.
Yes.
Makes a huge difference in the vibe.
My goodness, yeah.
EVK was Party's home base.
Dude, EVK breakfast unparalleled.
So good.
Unparalleled.
So EV Kitty.
The smoothies.
Oh my god, EV
Why do
Kitty.
people not like
Legendary.
it? I don't know why. It's so good.
EVK breakfast is what you need in the
So
morning
good.
to get you out of bed. I always woke up just so that I would not miss EVK breakfast. Like
Yep.
that encouraged me to get up before like 11 a.m. most days, on weekends
I would
especially.
go to EVK breakfast after like probably one of my 8 a.m. classes that I always have.
I enjoyed making waffles at Parkside. I think the other dining halls have
So just as a
waffle
background,
makers.
EVK is the sort of main dining hall on the area where most of the first year student dorms are. So it's like right off of McCarthy Quad. Parkside has its own dining hall, and then McCarthy has its own dining hall. So those are your options.
But with the freshman meal plan, you can eat at any of them.
Yeah, you can
no
eat at
problem.
And unlimited swipes too, so you don't have
so
to
good.
count how many times you go in. You want something, you just go.
Dining halls can also, we talked about study lounges as sort of this area for community, but dining halls really are an area. Do you want to talk about that more, Alex?
Sure.
Why is she hesitating?
I mean, I guess you, like, I find, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, at least for my floor, like, we had a giant group meeting, and, like, sometimes we'd be, like, everybody down in EVK at 10 a.m. to go to this one RA event or something like that. So we would, like, plan around, like, when the dining hall would open, and, like, or, like, if you see someone from your floor just eating in the dining hall, you would just sit with them. So, yeah, that was my vibe. Yeah.
I think for me, sometimes like I would really plan out like when I would go, because there'd be better times that fit in my schedule, and I feel like other people did that too. So I feel like I'd consistently run into people in the dining hall, and then it kind of just became a thing that we'd eat together on that day. But yeah, I feel like that was really nice in my freshman year. I feel like I made a lot of friends in the dining hall. We'd always go eat together. I also really enjoyed the study nights in the dining hall. I feel like those were so
The late night
the
stuff?
late night ones
Oh,
for
yes.
finals.
EVK
Okay.
rocked late nights.
So again, background on this. at specific nights throughout the semester, the dining halls will stay open like a little later and serve just like junk food, essentially, like burgers,
things your parents
donuts,
don't want to know that you
pizza,
eat.
you know. The dining hall can be a great space for community as well. What else do you think is kind of like an important aspect for community building in each one of your dorms freshman year?
I feel like the RA events.
Yeah,
I feel like my
yeah.
RA hosted a lot of events.
Do you want to explain what those are?
Yeah, so basically every semester the RAs are asked to kind of like host events, especially in freshman dorms, to kind of help the students acclimate a little better. So this can be on a range of things. It might just be like a movie night. It might be a study night. It might be an event where they're literally just handing out care packages. But they're really fun, and they were a great way to meet people. And I feel like I actually lived across from my RA my freshman year, and so he would always come knocking on my door and always say to come and support his event. But they were really cool, and some of them were really educational. They'd bring out professors to talk to students, so it was fun.
And yeah, I think in general RA events are just, you know, fun events for you to, you know, get those. It is a community building thing, right? Because you want to know the people on your floor. You want to know the people who are living next to you. And sometimes that can be hard. Like, that can be hard for kids. So it's good that you have sort of this way to facilitate it.
Yeah, you don't just need to figure everything out yourself, which is really nice, because especially coming into college, you're kind of afraid of, like, how am I going to, like, go to class and, you know, like, learn how to do laundry if you didn't already know. And also, like, make friends and find the time to do that, especially if you live in the building. Like, when I lived in McCarthy, I was so worried about meeting people outside of my suite. So when my RA was like, oh, a bunch of us RAs are putting on an event together, like, come meet people, I'd be like, okay, yes, let's go. Also, there's always food there.
That's true.
And you learn in college, when there's free food, you go.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
Like, it summons you. Like, it calls you.
So, Christina, you talked about kind of, you know, maybe being scared, like, where are you going to make friends? Do you guys think, now that none of us are currently living in first-year housing, are a lot of your friends still from your dorm that first year?
I have a couple friends that I think my best friend that I have currently lived in my dorm, not on my floor, but we definitely met through our dorm, and I still keep in contact with a lot of the people from my dorm. So, like, you'll, like, as with most relationships, you'll, like, drift closer to some people, and some relationships will stick. Some people, you'll, like, I feel like the relationship that I have with a lot of the people on my floor is that, like, we're on friendly terms. Like, if I ever need something, I just reach out, and they know who I am. And
Right.
Yeah. So it's a very lax friendship, I would say.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I think I definitely met so many people my freshman year that I still know and can reach out to them if I need something, especially now. Like, I'm taking a class right now where I saw someone that I, like, met up with my freshman year in the party study space at 2 a.m. when we all pulled an all-nighter together. And so I know that if I ever need help in the class, I can reach out to her because we've gone through it together. And I'm still, you know, roommates with someone that lived in my suite freshman year. So you definitely make those connections that continue with you throughout your time at USC, which is really nice because you don't need to try excessively hard afterwards to expand your friend group, because your friend group is already pretty big, and you gain some skills on how to make friends in college and what that looks like. So it's good.
Yeah. I really feel the same way. A lot of my friends lived in my building, and we still hang out all the time now. So
yeah, I think for me too, like, a handful of my, like, definite closest friends are from McCarthy. Like, I would say definitely my best friends at USC are from McCarthy, but also, with total transparency, the same thing that Liz said. And I do think, you know, naturally some of those friends fall away because it's super convenient to be friends when you live a few paces away from each other. And then on the flip side, like, some people where it becomes, like, harder to keep up your friendship because you have so much going on or whatever, and now you don't live together, you know, it really shows you after that who your real friends are, and then, you know, who are people you can rely on in certain situations, but maybe you just don't keep up that friendship. So I think, you know, it definitely goes both ways. You're not going to have a community of 500 people the whole 4 years that you're consistently around. But that being said, if you make it a priority to maintain those friendships, it can be super valuable, I think. So we also, one term that we've thrown around a lot is an RA. So an RA, a resident assistant, they kind of host a cohort of students almost in each dorm, and their role is to really keep everyone safe and also build this community, host these sort of events. So that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind, and oftentimes you'll become really close to your RA group in particular. Like every dorm has RA groups of like 30 kids, and it's really cool. Do you still keep in touch with your RAs? No.
I don't, but I know people that do. It's useful that they're upperclassmen, so especially as a freshman, when you come in and you're like, oh my god, like basic questions. I know my RA, in my first week at USC, like right before classes started, she literally took the time to walk me around campus because I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to find my class, so I'd be late for class. So she walked me around campus and pointed out, like, this is your building, this is the building you have this in, this is the building you have this in. So it's just like a great person to have to get rid of any like fears and anxieties you have, because they know so much as an upperclassman, and they can really help a freshman coming in. Yeah. My
floor loved our RA. We there's some situation where we like switched RAs in the middle of the year, but that RA that got switched in, she was like so scared that we're like, oh, I'm not gonna know these kids or whatever. But like we loved her. I got Denny's with her at like 2 a.m. It was insane. Aww. We love Margaret Spencer. Shout out to Margaret. She's working at Pixar now. She was in the animation department. So yeah, she was awesome. Like I think the really great thing about her was that she made an effort to keep her door open. So like, again, when I was bored, I would literally walk into her room and lay on the floor. And then other people would eventually join me when they were bored and like stressed out or whatever. So that was great.
So what is your advice for students? We've talked about a lot of different types of housing. What is your advice for students when selecting dorms? I know like part of you is like, oh, I want to be the one with the air conditioning, the nicest, but like kind of as we've discussed, there's a lot of other value in that dorm experience. So yeah, what would you all say?
It's kind of like a mini college decision, honestly. You got to think about what you want, and then you got to balance it. Like, if you're the type of person who's like, I can't live in some place that gets anywhere above 70 degrees, then maybe somewhere with air conditioning is the place for you. But if you're willing to be more flexible on, like, you know, the type of furniture you have and communal showers and stuff, consider the vibe, because a lot of those places with, you know, those communal spaces have the most, like, interactive experiences and the most like organic college experiences and those vibes. So definitely check it all out. Be sure you think about like a balanced college experience. None of the dorms at USC are bad, which is really good. So no matter what you pick, you really can't lose. So definitely just think it through.
I definitely want to echo what you said. Like, I think if you're like someone who really, really values like those organic, like classic college experiences, definitely consider like some of, I don't know, like I think people like they like look down on party, but it was so good. Like just consider all your other options and like consider the type of community and the type of vibe that you're gonna get.
And party's not the only one. Party, Burncrant,
I know,
Mark's Tower.
They're so good.
There's so many other ones like Party,
New North.
You can check it out. I'm sure USC Housing has websites where you can like view floor plans and learn more about.
Shout out, we actually have a 360 video, multiple 360 videos of housing on our YouTube page, which is at Viterbi Student on YouTube.
Yeah. So hopefully you can get kind of the stories behind but I think kind of what we're almost saying is maybe don't so much decide on like, oh, am I going to have my own bathroom? Is this the nicest dorm? Really decide on if it's a place you can develop a community, because that's what's going to be most important to you that first year. What would you say about that, Alex?
Also, I mean, I feel like living in a suite style was a little bit different, but I feel like I didn't really miss out on the college experience, because on the flip side, like I had a lot of friends who lived in that kind of residence. I had a lot of friends who lived in Burncrant, so I would go hang out there, and I still feel like I got to experience it. But then like also through experiencing that, it made me glad that I personally didn't live there, because it was just not the vibe for me. But I feel like I still got to experience it, so it's really
awesome.
Cool.
One last question. What's your favorite memory from your dorm freshman year?
2 a.m. pancakes at Denny's. I had a car freshman year, and we just hopped in it and went to the 24-hour Denny's that's down Figueroa in downtown LA, and we had 2 a.m. pancakes with some people on my floor.
I love it. Nice. What about you, Christina?
I know I vaguely referenced this just because it's, for some reason, the memory from freshman year that I remember so strongly, but I met a friend, Kate and Sean. We were just in the study room studying. Do you know one of them? Luce is making a face.
You definitely met them like last week.
Sean, yeah. No, Luce knows Sean. But yeah, I met them in the party study lounge. I have never met them before, and we bonded that night like crazy because we shared goldfish. They were studying for bio or something, and I was studying for another midterm, and we literally pulled an all-nighter together, and we're just vibing the whole time. And I was like, this is the most college experience I could possibly get.
I feel like there was 1 week where I was kind of having a rough week, and one of my friends texted me and told me to come downstairs to her room. And so I was like, okay, it's literally just a flight of stairs. So I did, and they surprised me with like a goodie basket of all my favorite snacks. Aww. And that kind of just like solidified the fact that I had like actually made really good friends in my building, and it just like made me really happy that I had found that support system in college, because I feel like that was so crucial. And so I really loved that memory.
Okay, so my favorite memory from my dorm my freshman year was, so have you guys seen the shows where like people just get roasted by a celebrity? You know what I mean? Or no, a celebrity just
like
gets
a celebrity
roasted.
roast.
A celebrity roast. Yeah, that's what it is. That makes sense. Anyway, so my friends and I, we started doing this thing where we'd like hang out in our dorm, and it wouldn't be a roast, it'd be a honey roast. Have you heard of that?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
You just say compliments.
Instead of roasting people, you say all the things you like about them.
Aww.
We would sit in this like little couch on the 4th floor, McCarthy and Honey roast each other. It was cute.
Aw, wait, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So, everyone deserves a honey roast. Maybe we should do a podcast where we honey roast each other.
Sure.
Maybe.
That'd be a sweet one.
I would be open to that.
If people want to hear that, reach out. But
like and subscribe.
yeah, like and subscribe if you want to hear the honey roast podcast. But yeah, I mean, I think hopefully people have gotten kind of a better idea of the experiences that you're going to have at dorm. But I think that our main point here with all of this is really think about that element and what you're looking for there. You can get super valuable things out of all different types of housing. And it's so much more than just the physical space. It's really the people there, as is everything, I think. But is there anything else you guys think is important about
We
housing?
covered it all.
We covered it all.
I think we really did, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all. All right. We're back from housing stories.
So obviously the best dorm is...
I don't know. And I think it is hard.
There isn't one.
Yeah, because even especially Christina sort of has a unique experience living in suite style housing and the dorm style housing. Yeah. And sort of we kind of discussed that. And I think at McCarthy, you know, there are like a little more, it's not like everyone's doors are open and you're just going in and out, partly because you're not allowed to have your doors open because it's a fire hazard.
Yeah.
But I think kind of in any of these places, if you wanted to create a community, you could. So I think in McCarthy, Christine and I talked about how you could really find classmates and peers. And we talked about sort of these study rooms in McCarthy that would sort of be these hubs for community, which was kind of nerdy, but also like some of my best memories from my first year are definitely that. Like it was so fun. Yeah, it was awesome. And then Alex was sort of talking about, she lived in Parkside IRC.
Yeah.
And so she was saying it was really cool to like meet a bunch of different international students. And not, if you're an international student, like you don't have to live there, but that's kind of the theme of the dorm, I would say. And so her RA would plan like events for like different holidays from around the world. And it sounded like that was a really cool element of that, like getting immersed in that community. Mm-hmm. So I think in all of these different places, there are different types of people you can find and truly a different sense of community in each one of them. There's not to say one's stronger or less strong, but it's more like, where do you fit in? Do you want some quiet time to study? Like, do you want some space to be alone and then be able to, you know, walk outside your door and go to a communal area? Or do you want kind of your whole dorm to be a communal area? Yeah. And I think that's really a personal preference.
And you kind of discover that as you go, because like you don't really know when you get here. And I think that's the ultimate issue, is that you're going to build that community at any one of these places, and all of your memories are tied to the community. They're not tied to the building.
Exactly.
And that's so the opposite of what students think when they are, for lack of a better term, shopping the dorms. Like, oh, I need to find the best possible one here. And it's always, whatever like the newest one is always the best one. Like I go back to when I went to school, everyone talked about like, oh, this one building is it. And no one now wants to live there.
Which building was it?
So I lived in Floor Tower.
Okay, Floor is popular.
Is it popular? Because I don't even hear it anymore.
I think people like Floor. One, it has great views at the top.
It does have great views.
But I think it's a good mix. Like, it is suite style, so you sort of have that element. But it definitely has a really good sense of community. Like, everyone I know who lived in Floor is still friends with everyone who lived in Floor.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I went to school, it was like the first one. It was the newest one. It was the first one that was suite style.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't think people knew exactly what that meant.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, everybody has their community, and friends that I know that went to other buildings, their community is based on that building, and everyone's still friends with people. And you're not going to like everyone, you know?
Right. Yeah.
There are people that I probably don't really like from the residence facility, but I can count on both of my hands multiple people that I talk to still regularly that are just people that I met that first year on the 10th floor of Floor Tower. I mean, we would go back to the episode we did. Was that with you? With Andy?
I don't think so.
Computer science professor. This may be with Rhea. I don't know how long. This is how long. I'm losing my memory as to how long ago this episode was.
Honestly, just every day, little exits out of my brain.
That's okay, and I'm completely blanking on his last name. Oh, Goodney, Andrew Goodney.
So that wasn't me.
Yeah, so Dr. Goodney, if we go back and listen to that episode, he's a professor here in computer science, and he's my year and was a first-year student on the 4th floor of Floor Tower, and I was on the 10th floor of Floor Tower, so we know each other going back to freshman year.
Oh, cool.
And so you go back and listen to that episode, and we talk a lot about Floor Tower and the memories, and then now people are, you know, connecting back and forth with one another as far as like what's happening. I might see, hopefully if I travel this year, we'll see some friends across the country. It's just community building. It's just this idea of like you go through that together, and no matter what, it's hard. You know, like being away from home for the first time. It's not something that everyone loves necessarily,
right.
But you love the experience when it's done.
Yeah,
I think
definitely
that's what's
looking
cool.
back on it.
Yeah,
the good things stick. So
well, for those of you that have are just about to be admitted or have just been admitted, congratulations. Make sure you're checking our website and make sure you're checking your portal for all the things you can sign up for, and keeping in touch with how we're handling admitted student events regarding COVID-19. And if we're going all virtual or not at the time of this recording, I don't know. So just make sure you're checking in, and we'll be in communication with you. Make sure you're checking your email, make sure you're checking your portal, and we'll do whatever we can to communicate all the things you need to know to make a decision as to where you want to go to school in the fall. If we don't see you for a little bit, it's because we're Audrey's going to be in Colorado, probably. Maybe somewhere. I don't know. But we'll check in as best we can on this podcast and get something up. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone.